Hey, thanks for joining me on this another meditation hour session. Earlier, I was thinking about this quote from Kabir, and in fact, I was thinking about this quote. I think about this quote plenty of times over the past years, especially. And the quote itself in Hindi or Sanskrit, I believe, is "बुरा जो देखन मैं चला, बुरा ना मिलिया कोई, जो मन आप ना देखा, मुझसे बुरा ना कोई." Which is such beautiful lines, which means when I tried and start looking for people who are evil or bad, who has done bad things, I didn't find anyone. And when I looked within myself, I found the worst person, or the evil or the baddest person, which just kind of speaks about the depthness in which Kabir thinks about various things. It's such a good reflection of his personality, and the level of self-awareness he had, and the kind and compassionate person he was. Because what he meant, at least if I'm getting his verses correctly, what he meant was that everyone is going through their own struggle, and if I start judging people based on their struggles, I might find people to be evil. But when I look into myself, there are so many bad and evil things I did personally as well, that I cannot judge other based on something which they did. Don't get me wrong, I think every one of us are somewhere in the spectrum. There are worse and evil people in the world, and there are good and amazing people in the world, and we all lie somewhere in that spectrum. So self-realization or self-awareness of where you lie in that spectrum could make you very uncomfortable. At least it does to me. Whenever I'm an asshole or jerk to someone, I take up some time later on, because it makes me feel guilty for sure, even though I don't at time express that, but it does make me look into my inner dialogue and see what is within me which is making me feel uncomfortable, and make me think that the other person is jerk, and which made me act unkind towards that person. And there are valid reasons for few people, for sure, but in general, I believe that people are going through their own struggles, and we don't have to, or personally, I don't have to act unkindly to anyone else. That is my inner insecurity, so to speak, which is expressed with my unkindness. And I'm not to the level where I could be compassionate and kind to everyone, but I try to be as kind as I could be, at least to the people who I know personally have been really helpful and been kind with me. And if I acted unkindly towards them, I would, I feel guilty about it, and I kind of ponder and sonder what's going on in their life, and created that experience where I in some sense reacted with unkindness. And to be honest, whenever I feel unkind, I just sit with my thoughts and try to analyze, why am I feeling that way? Because like Buddha said, people can bring love to you, people can bring hate to you, and whatever you accept sticks with you. So if someone is being hateful, and if you just don't accept it, then that hate is not sticking with you or within your life. And if you reacted with mutual hatred or unkindness, then that action is coming from your own insecurity, or at least in my experience, my own insecurity. And that means that I have to do some work within myself and address my inner insecurities. And meditation is definitely super helpful to kind of expand that awareness and expand that thought pattern of knowing where I'm reacting from, what are the insecurities within me, which is expressed in which take an expression of a jerk or asshole, and that make me kind of reflect back and address my insecurities, so that in the similar situation next time I don't fall back to the same jerk reaction, and hopefully become a better person by just treating others with the kindness and compassionate which I can in some sense create within me. And one of the reasons why I'm talking about this is because for the past couple of days I've been into a few of those situations where I just reacted based on my own inner insecurity of some sense, and then I realized after pondering over that I could have reacted better, I could have just not reacted and take more time to kind of act from a better introspective position instead of just reacting to whatever other person might have said or done. And it's a long learning curve, and I guess it's a lifelong learning curve. That's why I call myself as student of life, because as long as I'm alive, I will be learning from people, I will be learning from others. And that is one of the things which helped me in the past few years, just to look at people as what I can learn from them, instead of looking at them in a way that I don't have to I would say I have nothing to gain from them, which seems transactional. But what I'm getting at is, when I look at people in different situations, I try to surrender in those situations. I'm comfortable enough, and I feel I'm secure enough to surrender myself to different people in different situations, because I don't have to be know-it-all. I know that there are people who are expertise in one or the other areas of life, and if I just listen and learn from them, I'll be in a better state than if I just come from a position that I know it all, or I'm the best, or whatever. So these are some of the realizations over a few years, and I feel that helped my ego for sure, because now when to give you an example, when I go on and practice Aikido, I go there and try to be a student on the mat. So whoever is pointing out the errors I'm making with my technique, I just listen and try to learn from it, instead of like coming from a point that I know the technique and I know what I'm doing, because that's the egoistic side which try to tell me that I'm doing the right thing, when clearly there are more experienced people who know techniques better than I do, and when they are saying anything, I just listen to them and try to to kind of recitate what they ask me to correct. Likewise, I do the same on other practices as well, and especially stand-up comedy is like a whole different giant, because people try to tell you at times what joke, how the joke is good or bad or whatever, or what you're doing right or wrong. But at that time, it's important to kind of absorb. Let me rephrase. So when I listen to different stand-up comics performing, I listen to them from two standpoints. I listen to them based on how they are performing, based on their jokes and the punchlines and how they say it, and based on the language they are using. So I try to learn from both aspects of it, and it helped me so much. There were like so many different words I was using in a different context or incorrectly, and just by listening to other comics use similar words or a better word in their jokes helped me kind of use the words to make my joke better. And likewise, I when I listen to other comics, I see how they perform, how they have that stage presence, and when I listen to them, I know for sure that they are different type of comics. I'm not competing with anyone, so it makes me more open to just listen to them as a fellow comic in some sense, and just see what I can learn from their performance, how they are presenting themselves in front of crowd, how they are using their words wisely, or how they are composing their structure, and what are they doing with the different props and whatnot. I mean, there are so many different details I can go into, but when I sit down there and just listen to other comics, I'm paying attention to what all things I can learn from them, even if the joke is completely not of my taste or not of my kind. Still, there is something to listen. And at times I'm gonna come back to the topic that how self-awareness should make me uncomfortable, because that's something which I'm looking for, because that points out where I need to improve my life, where I need to reassess and see what are the insecurities within me which I need to address, and in some sense give a closure, because I feel every single interaction with other people, or every single interaction with other hobbies or techniques I do, there is part of me which is satisfied, and there is part of me which is unsatisfied. And being self-aware of both aspects, and then analyzing, because I'm a more analytical person, and also at the same time trying to feel what makes me satisfied with those practice. If I'm jumping ahead and being overconfident and cocky and just being satisfied with my lower level of thinking, or when I'm unsatisfied with something, with my technique or practice or whatever, I try to pay more attention there to see how I can improve on that. So self-awareness does make me feel uncomfortable at times, and that's a good thing. And I'm looking forward for more uncomfortable moments which the self-awareness bring, because the joy of realizing that uncomfortness and addressing to that uncomfortness is it's better than just being ignorant and just not listening, I guess, or just being in my own head, I guess. Anyways, so those were some of the thoughts I had in my head, and I guess I'm there are still a lot of thoughts which I need to formulate, and I need to ponder on what I just said as well, because my goal is to self-improve on my existing understanding, and refine my understanding of the world itself. So I'm just gonna take a break here, and I'm gonna start meditating for the next hour. And the technique I'm gonna use to meditate is Vipassana, which is to focus on my breath and body sensations. So I'm gonna start with describing some of the sensations I'm looking forward when I focus on my breath, and thereafter I'm gonna do a quick body scan to give an idea of what are the sensations within my body I'm looking for. And once I do a quick body scan, I'm just gonna start meditating for the next period, how much amount of time is left. And at that time my mind will wander off, obviously, so I will say out loud whenever my mind wander off, and bring it back to focus, to pay attention to my body sensations. With that note, let's get started. Hey Google, set an alarm for an hour from now.
You got it. Your alarm's set for tomorrow at 12:26 a.m.
I observed the flow of my breath. I observed the random noise in the room, which I have no idea what is creating that noise. I observed the difference in temperature of my inhale and exhale breath. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed the flow of my breath from the moment it touches my nostril and passes through my nostrils into the lungs, and from my lungs through my nostrils into the space. Observe the expansion and contraction of my lungs. Now I'm gonna do a quick body scan. I'm gonna start from top of my head all the way to tip of my toe. I observe my hair touching my head. I observe my skin, my forehead, feeling the temperature of the room. I observe my breath, the air touching my upper lip. The air from my breath touching my upper lip. I observe the itchy sensation on my chin. I'm gonna do a quick scan of my torso and my back and my chest. I observe the fabric of my shirt touching my chest and my back and my torso. Observe the strap. Observe the tension in my neck and the shoulders because of the posture correcting strap I'm wearing. Observe the slight pain in my shoulders and back because of the strap. I would say a slight tension in my muscles. gonna scan my left hand. Observe the tension in my left biceps and triceps. I observe that my left elbow is touching my left knee. I observe various sensations in my hands, flowing all the way from my shoulder to my fingers. I'm gonna do a quick scan of my right hand. I observe that my right elbow is touching my right knee. Observe a sensation from my right shoulder all the way to my right fingers, right hand fingers. I observe that my mind wandered off. I'm gonna do a scan of my left leg. I observe that the left side of my ass cheek is touching the cushion on which I'm sitting. I observe that my left knee is touching my left elbow. I observe the itchy sensation on back of my left knee. I observe the various points where my left leg is in contact with my right leg, because I'm sitting cross-legged. Now I'm gonna do a quick scan of my right leg. I observe the itchy sensation on my right hip. I observe that my right knee is touching my right hand. I observe the various points on my right leg touching my left leg. because I'm sitting cross-legged. Now I will continue to scan my entire body for sensations. And whenever my mind wanders off, I will say out loud to bring my focus back on my body sensations. I observe that my mind wandered off. I observe that my mind wandered off. And whenever I'm scanning my body sensations, I'm scanning or being aware of the sensations on both sides of my body simultaneously. So I'm being aware of both of my legs at the same time. I observe that my mind wandered off. I observe that my mind wandered off. I observe that my mind wandered off. observed that my mind wandered off. I 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 also observed that I wasn't scanning my whole body, so I'm gonna start afresh. I observed that my mind wandered off. I observed the various points at which my mind wandered off. I observe that my mind has wandered off. I observed that my mind 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 wandered off. Stop. Thanks for sticking around and watching this meditation hour. If you like some of the things which you hear here, please feel free to share it. In fact, I encourage you to share it with others. And I hope that you start and nurture your meditation practice and stay peaceful.